Chapter 81. Although taking more time attempt to finally break Raven's bed sounded like a wonderful endeavor, I still had other things to do in this life than just that. Namely, I had meetings with beings ranging from both great to completely inconsequential. Lord of the ever-moonlit realm, Lady Titania of the Summer Fae Courts once again sends her regards and cordially invites you into the fairy conglomerate realm for the bicentenary auction. Standing before my throne was a fairy of alien beauty that was obviously purposefully sent to act as the messenger, as the news of Astrid being in charge of taking over some of the less important tasks within my realm had apparently spread far and wide. The fairy before me was more alien or inhuman looking than Astrid, in conjunction to having weird little antennas atop her head, but she also had an extra set of smaller eyes just below where a normal human would have. What will be sold at the auction and what will the currency be used there? I asked with a bit of interest rather than just shut down that annoying tart Titania's maneuvering. The actual Fae Courts literally didn't even have their own actual world, and thus the plane of existence in which the Fae Courts resided was built by the seasonal Fae's own power, with the seasonal change acting to maintain and keep the plane stable, as winter within the realm was supposed to be terrible to the point that only winter Fae could survive it, and thus the other Fae would travel the lands of Fairy or just reside in other worlds. So, the Fae Courts, both Titania and Maeva of the Winter Courts, have always been trying to steal or merge someone's mundane egg-based world into their plane so they would no longer need to maintain it at all. Lord of Hugo Mundo, the currency is what you wish to offer in trade to whatever is being auctioned. Whether it be slaves, precious gems, coinage, or even favors, the auction house will record whatever you offer, and the person who is selling their goods will choose what they desire in compensation for their items or service. The fairy explained before taking a breath. As for what is being put up for auction this time, at great cost, Lady Titania has told me to tell you that many mortal slaves taken from worlds and times, in reality, are being put up for sale at the start at low prices, as they aren't worth much. The fairy started off while my face remained cold at her telling me of slaves being sold. I literally couldn't save them due to the Fae laws that bound them in servitude, as to be a slave in the lands of Fairy was to commit crimes against another or just sell yourself into servitude. Granted, a number of people were tricked into getting magically enslaved, but just like in reality I cannot save everyone, and trying to figure out everyone's story was taking my entire damn near immortal life. As for other things being sold, well, there is copious amounts of lightly enchanted gear being sold in batches to arm small regiments for the forces of Fairy to arm their soldiers. But as for the high-value items Lady Titania has told me to tell you of, she has explained that there are many potent magical reagents like purified heart's blood freely given from a saintess, as well as things like cuttings taken from the trees that bear the golden apples of the Greek pantheon. She explained, and I raised an eyebrow at the last one. Making my own forest of golden apples to snub the Greeks for arming assassins to kill me. I thought, delighted at the thought, as I knew that growing golden apple trees would not only piss off Zeus on principle, but it would also piss off Hera, who the trees were dedicated, and she will obviously take out her anger in Zeus, as she couldn't do a damn thing. I didn't let my poker face break down as I hummed in the thought while looking down at the fairy who squirmed under my gaze. Anything else of note? I asked, like her previous list mattered little to me. The fairy looked at the ground as she coughed. Ahem, I was also told if the Lord of Unfettered Winds didn't find interest in the objects being sold before, that Hephaestus has created an enchanted wrist chain made out of nth metal that also has a small dimension tied within the gems inlaid upon the chain that can hold your stuff. I mean, you obviously have your own world, so I wasn't sure if you would care, Lord. The fairy spoke hurriedly while my poker face broke at the news. Granted, it wasn't a space ring but a storage artifact that could actually hold my god killer in stasis and keep the sword from scaring the piss out of everyone who can feel its bloodlust. Welp, looks like I need to deal with Titania in person. Astrid couldn't touch my sword at all to take me back to my inner world. And even for myself, grabbing or taking something out of it when I am on Earth, or something, takes a few seconds. And what does Titania want of me, to be her guest of honor to this auction? I asked, while Fairy looked more distressed than anything at my obvious interest in going now. I have been instructed to not answer that specific question, she said dully with absolutely no inflection in her tone, letting me know that the fairy in front of me was without a doubt a bound slave to Titania, which made sense, as magically bound messengers could be trusted to not screw up negotiations, as Titania could review her memories without issue later on, as well as feeling when and where this slave would die. Very well. I will be at the Fae Court realms tomorrow so I can settle the debt for this invitation. But tell Titania that she can empty her mind of thoughts of taking my realm. I thrice swear to shatter the very plane of the Fae Courts if she attempts to pull some trickery during this invitation. I said dead serious as I felt the Fae promise attempting to bind onto my soul, but I tore apart the eldritch laws while staring silently at the fairy messenger. The fairy quivered in place, in obvious fear as she didn't know I could evade thrice sworn promises. All she knew was that Titania was inviting a wolf that had killed a cosmic being and was already annoyed at her into her very home. Now leave in peace, little fairy, while you still have guest rights. I dismissed the fairy as Astrid sent a wave of solid darkness that swallowed the fairy and teleported her to the edge of my realm for her to leave in peace without getting a chance to mess around.